Welcome to Modular World. My name is John O'Wells, and boy, do we have a show for you today. A visual feast, an audio feast, visuals and sounds like you come to expect on this show, but just today we're at a high level. First, we have my friend Ed Sweeney, who performs as Navicore. Now, he lives off the coast of Seattle. There's these islands, Vashon Islands, and the other small islands that surround Vashon. This is where Ed lives. And he is operating at a level of synthesis that is something that I really aspire to be at and have learned from. And he's going to give us a performance on 4 panels of a Serge synthesizer that's going to blow you away. Second, we have Metamyther, who hails from New York City, and he has chosen to, you know what, I'm not even going to give you a hint, but I'll just say that the visuals on this performance are bringing the production level of Modular World to yet another height. Let's get right to it with Navicore. Ed, you are one of my favorite people. I love talking with you, and we've done it for years, and your level of knowledge is always just so inspiring to me. It's great to have you on the show.
Back at you. Thanks for talking today. We were just reminiscing about previous conversations we've had, and there's a lot to talk about. This everything here fascinates me, and I'm so grateful that I keep, that I'm part of a community. The first time we talked, I remember I told you I was worried that I might not like the communities I find, that it might just be, some model railroading, stuff that I was familiar with as a hobbyist, as a teenager or whatever. And this has been fantastic.
Yeah, I feel same way. It's just a community that keeps giving, and it's just it just remains. I feel like I stand with giants, and I feel like that's the way that you've got to find a community where you can stand with giants. And what I mean by that is that I think if you're not standing with giants, you're not going to be all that you can be. I feel like that with you. You're a giant in my world, in my mind. Don't laugh, it's true. That your level of synthesis and knowledge brings me up. If we're always playing down, and we're the smartest in the room, then I don't think that we can be all that we can be. And with synthesis, I'm sure that you would say, no, there's people more giant than you, right?
Yes, like everyone surprises me,
Right,
and I'm
right.
always, like I can never assess whether somebody's coming from a point of confidence or whether they feel the same way. But we're all learning from each other. We were
That's what
just
I'm
talking
trying to
about that
say.
patch a
That's
minute
what I'm
ago.
trying to say.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
we were just talking about that patch a minute ago that I learned a minute before that performance. you know, I'm exaggerating a little bit, but not by much. Like you know, um, making those two circuits together was this new thing for me. I was excited about, and I learned it from somebody we know.
Yeah. So to catch the viewer up, um, you're talking about your Serge system that I've gotten into. I've built a system from Sky, from Prism Circuits. I built 2 panels of his, and you've got his Quasar system.
I do. That's not what's in the performance, but I do. The Quasar system is this genius collection of stuff
Mm-hmm.
that I talked with him about. That he it's optimized for performance, and I had it for less than half a day, and I was doing because I'm experimenting and did something I'd never done before and messaged him, and he goes, "Yeah, that's a secret trick." Kind of patting me on the back that I discovered a secret, but it was that there's a phaser in the quasar, and I was using it for audio rate modulation, and for the millionth time, heard things from a Serge I'd never heard before. Right?
Now,
It
am
was
I correct?
so satisfying, you know.
Yeah, it is so satisfying. I mean, that's a perfect way to say it,
Yeah.
is that like I feel like when I'm playing with Eurorack, and this is nothing down on Eurorack, it's a reality, is that things do what they should do. And I know that you can stumble into happy accidents too, and I definitely rely on that, and I have relied on that. But not to the level of what happens in Surge Land.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, so I love all this stuff, and it was it was building LB kits of Surge modules that was like my gateway, which is Eurorack format, which is actually great for the lower cost, and it made sense that you could use it with all of the other great stuff that's out there. Um, but I just became fixated on the Surge patch programming way of modular from the very beginning. I don't know if it's true now, but at one point you and I could both say we'd never owned a Battleship sequencer. Like we liked making our things out of parts. My first Eurorack sequencer was the very basic LFO from Doepfer, and
Yeah, I know the one.
the 4U sample and hold circuit, and then anything else, it could be a clock. And like just those with the four shapes of the LFO, the sample and hold, I was making melodies, and like my mind was blown. Right.
Yeah, yeah,
Again, I'm in awe of the large sequences, but that wasn't something. I don't know if it was this something about the cleverness of the simple circuit or whatever, but that was very attractive to me.
yeah. Me too. I talk with Metamyther about Battleship sequencers, and we talked about the Oxy 1, which we both have, and he makes great use out of. But I cannot, I think I just have a problem with sequencers in general. I just don't know how to use them, and they never click with me. And so I make my rhythms and my
Mhm.
melodies in other ways.
Yeah, that's kind of I had a good experience with that, and I stuck with it. Doesn't mean tomorrow I won't change, and like anything goes for me, by the way. But I don't want to make it sound like I'm not. I will, as much as I prefer an open system. I'm fascinated by all of these sequencer apps on the iPad, for instance. Like
God, me
I have no
too.
horizons, but when I'm making my own music, I'm using like the Surge sequencer as a controller. It's not even doing
Right.
pit. I'm
Me
mashing on the
too.
keys.
Me
You
too.
know,
Me too. Yeah, I don't need it to be doing its little 5 step little loop.
yeah,
Mine is
yeah,
stopped, and I'm using
yeah.
it as a push button
It's a great controller, isn't it?
CV source. Yeah.
Yeah. And you can make a macro controller out of it, and yeah, yeah.
I mean, I've definitely had it going fuck a doodle do, where I was sending it wacky stuff to up and wacky stuff into down, and it was tickling all over the place.
Yeah.
That's fun too. But
Sure,
just
sure.
just playing it dead, I think is the way to play it.
Yeah.
You
No,
know.
I and I like that it's a yeah. I um I like that it uses up some space too, by the way. That I can reach in there and mash on the keys.
Yeah, absolutely. These things are huge.
Yeah.
So the 4 panels which you're playing on in this performance, are those random source?
Yes. There's
Right, right,
there's two large panels, and then there's a selection of modules
right.
that, the two panels and two panels worth of modules that that I picked out carefully, that I think is, it's an amazing system. But it's really the basics. It's the newer implementations of the basics. You look at it and say, well, it's all slew limiters, and you have more SSGs than most people. Like I I like the GTO is a newer implementation of the SSG that is in the paper face. I use the same exact go-to patch in the newer one that I use in the SSG, which is it's just a very playable source of random gates and random voltages, which I was using in the performance as well. It was controlling the growling filter, and there's a there's a wave shaper on top of the filter, getting its small changes from the SSG.
You told me that you recorded for an hour and then you
It,
chose
it,
15
it was
minutes.
an easy, yeah. I put as little pressure on myself as possible, and I recorded for an hour, and I didn't know when to start the camera, and then I heard it, which is why it starts the way it starts. Is I heard that growling sound from the filter, and I said, "Well, I like that," and small changes. I did not know if I even looked at the thing funny if it would keep making that sound. And it turned out it was very playable and I could mess with it and everything. But like I had the thought that it was a sound I loved and it was fragile, and I pushed the record. And if I didn't like it, I would have just done another hour at some point. By the way, we appreciate when we're able to say, I just did it and recorded. But it's two channels out for an hour, and I just went in there and grabbed the 15 minutes. And you can I don't think I'd be surprised if anybody could hear the change, but you can see it in the video that there's like three transitions.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But it was an hour of having fun, and that hour is nothing in that kind of stuff, as you know.
Yeah.
It was just I made it very easy to record. By the way, I practiced that. I make it easy so I can just push a button to record. I've been in that state in all of my modular for years. But I've never set it up where I get the camera going that often. And I thought, since I started putting the panels on the low table, it was actually natural just to turn the camera on at that angle, and everything was right there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So how are you recording out?
I record everything through an iPad these days. I actually, I made it as easy as possible. Is you know the out to an audio interface, and in this case, it was the cheapest Scarlett 2i2,
Uh-huh.
and I plugged an iPad into it and pushed the red button. I didn't mess around with it very much. Oh, sorry. There's a pedal in between the Serge and an audio interface. I was playing with effects at one point. I have this source audio dual. It's a delay, and it's a collider, so it has both delay and reverb. And I've always loved that pedal. I've had it since it came out.
So I mean that.
But the iPad is, I push the button. I don't have to go name the file. I don't have to put the file somewhere. I don't have to. If I want to record again and I push the button again, I get more recordings. Not, there's nothing lost in it.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's kind of like running around with a camera with rolls of film, and then later you might go and process the film. And you don't actually have to remember taking the pictures to go process the film. I learned how to do photography that way. Is it actually is sometimes even better not to go process your pictures when you still remember taking the picture, because you're kind of biased. And so
Right.
for me, this is analogous to that, which is I can record and record and record and record. And if I go back into the recordings and I don't find anything I liked, then it was just fun to make it. Right.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that makes any sense, but I go to some lengths to not put any pressure on myself.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's just two tracks out. That's it. Just stereo
In
track.
that case, now I am fooling around with multi-track recording, and I do like assembling complicated things. By the way, later I love the stories of the BBC days where people would come into work and they'd say, "Oh, Dieter or somebody was here all night," because they can see the tape dragged down the hallway.
Mm-hmm.
So I admire tape music, and I try to do my processing with the idea that, you know, back in the olden days, they were assembling electronic music with parts, and I'm okay doing that too. But for this, it was a performance,
Yeah, yeah.
and it was just 2 tracks out, and I was pleased with it.
Mm-hmm. So the big pedal board in back of you is for
Yeah.
processing whatever, right? But not this time.
Exactly. I can put teenage engineering, little tiny device, the pocket operator. I can put a pocket operator through those as easily as I can put the 4U or Eurorack.
Mm-hmm.
And I like pedals. I discovered I just liked what was going on with pedals, which uh, I can't really defend it. You can do something with a little bit of software that all these pedals can do probably.
Mm-hmm.
Ergonomics is not even good on pedals, right? But I love them. I love pedals. And so the
Clearly.
way I have it set up here is I can sort of patch them to like there's like a dozen small strings of pedals, and so I can change the orders of them with these wonderful board brain boxes that let me patch the regular. I can't remember the size of the jack, but it's the Eurorack jack size. I can
Mm-hmm.
I can
The
I can
mini
change the
jack.
order of most pedals.
That's really cool. I've heard of those board brain. They're the two on the bottom row on the left side, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So there's two here, and so there's 3 stereo strings with just these 6 pedals, and so like I can rearrange them quite a lot.
Mm-hmm.
One, this is a string that's uh, on a string by itself. Oh, and sorry, that's not a stereo. That's a mono string of one, and that's a mono string of one. And so, with these boxes, I can patch them up in any. The only thing is, I can't put the reverb before the compressor, but because I don't tend to, you know,
Right.
um, I I think as long as we've been talking, I've always had the pedals, um, and and I've not explored so there's huge areas of Eurorack I did not explore when I was doing even more when I was doing a lot of Eurorack. I did not actually explore effects in Eurorack because um, I you know I'm so satisfied with uh, with what I do here.
Yeah. There's another person, friend of ours, I won't name, but they are basically only using Eurorack for effects anymore.
It, it's uh it's amazing with effects, and
Yeah.
there's all that great work. All right. And like I said, the ergonomics and the pedals versus Eurorack, it doesn't make sense that I like this so much, but I do. And I don't even go. I cannot, or I will not, for whatever reason, invest myself that much in MIDI control. But I do send a MIDI
Mm-hmm.
clock to the delay pedals. That's all I do. It's like,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
and so if I can't use the pedal with the knobs, all those hidden features and everything, they're not used here. But for the pedals behind me,
Mm-hmm.
and half of them are analog. They do what they do. The knob does what it does.
Mm-hmm. I've got the H9, the Eventide
Yeah, well,
H9.
that's an example of like how powerful these things are. It does everything, right?
That thing, so the way that I've unlocked it is that I use it with an iPad.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
it's ridiculous. It's just ridiculous because all you've got on the front of that thing is the big knob
right,
and then just
right.
a couple little hot
Yeah,
buttons. So you can't really get into it. But it's so beautiful and sounds so great. So if you interface it
yeah,
with an iPad, Then you can
Yeah.
see them as big pedals. Then you've
Yeah.
got the control over everything.
Right.
That pedal is a total magic box,
Yes. Yeah. It
you
is. It
know.
is.
So I run my Serge through that, and yeah, it just turns it upside down, you know. So you mentioned patch programmability earlier, talking about Serge. Sorry, I'm chewing on ice here. And of course, I know what that means, but explain to the viewer who hears about
Yeah.
this
Sure.
Serge stuff and they're like, what does all this mean? And
Well,
how is it different? Why is it so good? Can you explain what patch programmability is and how it works?
yeah. So there's, like every module has, in modular, whether it's the Moog or Buchla or Doffer, modules have some imagined purpose, right? And that people were making musical instruments and they were exposing them to musicians. There should be a way to play them. From what I understand from lore, not having been there, but it's been said enough times, I believe it, and the circuits seem to back it up. The Surge innovation is I don't really know um, what the musician might do if I expose some of the inner workings of the module to them, right? If I don't have to actually imagine everything that somebody's going to do with my module if I give them access to some of the intermediate ins and outs. And um, and so with Surge, your control voltages and your audio are the same type of connection. And you can have like an attenuverter, where you might want to use voltage control to turn the thing up or down a little bit. And then you do something like I did in the performance is, no, I'm going to patch the feedback from a self-oscillating other module into that attenuverter and see what happens. And so, the patch programming is where you can make new things out of the basic building blocks. And so, like I said, when I listened to it later, I said, well, like I sensed that I was searching around for another filter, which is kind of odd because I know better. I could have made a filter out of any like 6 different modules that were sitting there. You could patch a filter out of a slew limiter if I needed another low pass filter. Right. And so patch programming is that's my understanding of patch programming, which
Right.
is and you could say, well, you do patch programming with everything, but the idea that Surge module is exposing things that you didn't need to expose for its original purpose, right?
Right.
If the slew limiter didn't necessarily need the comparator exposed,
Well,
what
the
in the world
thing
was
is
that?
that,
You know?
right, it's like everything can be anything. Whereas I think in your rack, you look at something and it does what it does very well. It can't become an oscillator if you want it to be. Some things can, but
Some things can, right? But
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 most
but it's,
things,
it's very much that, right?
yeah,
It's
they do what they do and they do it very well. But
yeah,
and this is where it's complex to me playing with my Surge system is that, well, it can do anything. What do you want to do with it? And I'm like, I don't fucking know.
yeah, yeah. Well,
So I start patching stuff, and sometimes I do something that makes no sound.
yeah,
And I'm like,
yeah. But
what have I
but it does
learned
not
here?
catch on fire, does it? It does
No,
makes at least like it's designed for you to short it out like that, right?
right, right. But some things, also, and this is going to sound really weird or maybe even kind of dumb, but sometimes I patch things that don't make sound, but I can tell what they're doing with the lights, with the
Yeah, yeah,
LEDs. And I'm like, this is pure fucking genius. What's going on here? And you might ask, like, great. What does it sound like? And I'm like, well, I don't have any sound sources plugged into it right now, but I can tell what I've got going on here
Yeah.
is unique. I mean, that is weird. It's like a
Yeah.
kit, you know? It's like
Yeah.
you're building a kit car every time, you know? Hey, you mentioned the LB kits. Aren't those great? I
Yeah.
built I built a couple of the Ian Fritz modules.
Oh, yeah.
I built the the Chaotica, and then I
Yeah.
got from Chris Meyer. I got the Chaquo,
Yeah.
and
I,
these
I, I
are
I
yeah.
didn't build either of them, but I've admired them and came close. Yeah. That's the, the through hole stuff, my skills were just good enough,
Me too,
you know.
me too. I cannot do SMD through hole. I can pull off.
I've been told that I can do SMD if I just stop saying I can't do SMD, but
Me
I think you
too.
and I are alike right now. I don't know.
I'm not interested. It's too tiny. It's too tiny. You know,
Yeah.
Sky told me 1,000 times. He goes, "You can do this. All my stuff is simple through hole.
Yeah.
You can do this." So what I did was, and this is what I would recommend to anybody, I went on Amazon and I ordered some kits, some soldering, just real beginner kits. One was like a little sound responsive little bar,
Yeah.
and when you make sound near it, it makes the LEDs light up. It was all through hole.
Mhm.
So I practiced and I did all of that. And then I did one that was a Bluetooth speaker.
All right.
And then I did another one that was another audio reactive thing. But I just got my chops up doing simple little $9.99 little how to solder kits off of Amazon. I'm serious. And then once I had done
Cool.
3 of them, I was like, I can fucking do this. So I called up Sky and I said, let's build a panel.
Yeah.
And I
Awesome.
sold my
Awesome.
Pulsar. I sold my Soma Pulsar to fund the first panel.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
That's crazy. I loved that thing, and I was like, no, I need to build a Serge panel, a paper
like I said,
face panel.
like I knew what Paperface was, but I didn't know what Sky was up to. You're the one that told me. And so you've been working towards this for a long time, right?
I have, and I didn't know it, because I'd kind of hit a wall with Eurorack.
Hmm.
Again, no shade on Eurorack, the shade's on me. That
Hmm.
I just kind of hit a wall, and I needed to. And this isn't gas. It's not the next bright shiny penny. It's really not. It's more of that I really wanted the essential building blocks for synthesis. And I know
Hmm.
I could have definitely done that in Eurorack. I could have said, forget all this
Yep.
fancy shit. I'm just going to build a dope for system.
Right.
I could have done that. Or I could have gone Euro Surge. I could have done that with
Which
random
is
source
awesome.
stuff, which is
Like
awesome.
you know, I have lots of, experience with that. Um, but it does feel different with the ungrounded cables when you're playing, doesn't it? The
I can't
bananas,
say enough. I can't, yeah, they're right here. These are all
you
my
know,
banana
and
jacks. I can't
I
say
don't
enough
think,
about it.
by the way, it's a personal thing. I do not think that your choice of not of was a mistake or anything. Like it really like it was kind of a perfect thing for cost and parts and all that
Mm-hmm.
stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you do have to make the thing more rugged when you have a brand new, banana cable and all of that. And it would have,
It's true.
like they knew all that. Um, but now on the other side of this, the broken end bananas are, and then ungrounded where you touch them, playing is different, isn't it?
There's nothing like banana jacks.
Yeah.
There's just nothing like it. It feels amazing to plug them in.
Hmm.
And it's like you think it's such a silly little part of it all. It's like before I knew, I would kind of roll my eyes at my Buchla friends who were like, "Oh, but banana jacks," and
Yeah.
it seems so kind of silly and kind of elitist. And I was just like, "We're talking about fucking cables here, guys.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
But it's such a
yeah,
difference.
yeah. I mean, if we're going to reason about it, there is a point to say you don't have to seed it to get the ground to work, and that makes
Right,
playing differently,
right,
right?
right. You could just sit and tap it
Like
in.
that, yes,
You could
yeah,
tap it in and make funny signals and funny rhythms.
and I do, and that's you could, well, people will show us up and in a masterful way, showing us that they can tap in a Eurorack cable, but it's for me, you know, it's much more playable for me not to have to seat the thing all the way in there and experiment with whether or not I want to make the connection.
Right, right.
Um,
No,
per-
you can to some extent do that with a Eurorack cable too.
yeah,
To some extent. These
yeah,
things are just so big and holy that you're just like, you can just kind of play with
hmm
it like that, you know?
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Another thing that I think is a big point. This is just becoming a surge like
yeah.
discussion, which is just fine. Another thing that I mentioned in the last show that we should touch on is that I think it's a gas killer, which I think is so important because
Yeah.
you really can get all the building blocks
hmm
and then call it done.
Yeah.
That is that's you cannot say that in Eurorack, and you see people say that on Facebook groups. Here's a shot of my rack, one that little hole, and then I'll be done. And everybody comments afterwards, "Ha, you're gonna get a second case and all this," and they're right. But with
Yeah.
Serge, it's like I've got all the parts I need right now.
And how crazy is it that it's been such a stable collection of parts for decades, right?
It's fascinating.
And that's kind of breathtaking that's that so I love how many small three-person companies are making all of this stuff, the Eurorack and et cetera. And that thrills me. But that the foundations are all you know, to this. But we don't know, we can't be a fly on the wall to find out what all the influences that went into these things are. But that we can trace them back to such a small number of companies still kind of still boggles my mind. You know,
So I recently had the pleasure of meeting and sitting on a panel with Jill Frazier.
cool, cool,
Speaking of people who know, right?
yeah,
So
yeah,
I'm gonna have her on the show,
awesome,
but she was. I'll just tell a quick little mini history. She was part of the original crew working with Serge and soldering and creating his first systems,
wow,
and she has played them now for decades.
wow,
And if there's anybody who should be part of this conversation, it's Jill Frazier. She is so cool. I liked her right away. She's one of those people I was like, God, I should have known you years ago. You know, I showed her my new, like paper face tattoos,
yeah,
and
you're
she
yeah,
was just like, oh man, we should be hanging out and stuff. And I'm just like, I got so into this stuff, I had it tattooed on my arms, you
yeah.
know? Oh yeah, so that's going to be a great show. Stay tuned.
I look forward to it. Please,
Stay tuned
please,
for
please
Jill
do that.
Frazier.
Because like I said, I mean, we have this stuff now. We have it. We're playing with it. It's here for us. But it's still, like I said, I cannot get my mind around how did these things really come about.
It's so
You know,
true. Well, here's how it came about. And again, I'm just going to touch on this in a very I'm new to this kind of way, but here's how it came about. And I know you know this, so I'll just tell the viewer, the listener. This is Cal Arts in the early 70s. Cal Arts in LA. This is why it's called West Coast Synthesis. And Buchla had already become this exclusive rich boys club. No shade on Buchla. It's wonderful. So what Serge did was he made the people's synthesizer that you could make with his kits. And those who worked with him, like people such as Jill Frazier, if you worked with him, you would get a 6-panel system if you were part of those original employees. And so he built all these kits so that people could afford to get into this stuff. I think that's a decent mini explanation. The people's synthesizer. Right? So
I was aware of that expression with the paperface expression.
Right.
And partly, so Chris Myers, is the book from 4 years ago. I think there's an excerpt in there talking about, maybe it's not that book, but somewhere in there somebody has a quote saying, if you were lucky if Serge was in town and you were a band making your thing because he might come by and help you.
Right.
I love that the picture that paints.
Right.
It sounds like Jill is saying that working with Serge to make these things was like the place to be.
Well, oh man, I mean the guy is still alive, and maybe I could get him on the same show as Jill, because he and I have spoken on Facebook, and he's a sweet guy. And she said that he quietly smiles when he sees all these people getting into it, because I wrote him this sincere little heartfelt thank you when I got my paperface system from Sky, or when I built it. Yeah. And I said I just want to thank you for all these circuits which you came up with. And he wrote back just little 2 lines and said, thank you so much. It makes me so happy to know that blah blah blah.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
It is beautiful. So paperface, let's explain that really quickly too, because it's such a cool part of this all.
Yeah.
Okay, so Buchla right away was making aluminum panels, right? And to keep the costs down, oh, I love this so much. To keep the costs down on the Serge systems, it's PCB panels that were covered in paper that was glued on, and there's columns for all the holes and for all the knobs. They're not here and there and everywhere like modules that we know in Eurorack. Mm-hmm. They're in columns, right? So if you don't have a knob in a certain column, I wish I could take my camera and just face it and show you mine. But if you don't have a knob in a part where there's a hole, you literally have just a membrane of paper over the hole. Literally. So you could take a pencil and just poke it through the panel, and it's very delicate. Yeah. So anyway, Sky's method is a little bit advanced. So we've got sticky paper now.
Yeah.
And then he covers it again with this matte plastic kind of vinyl. So mine are a little bit less delicate, but you could still see through the areas where maybe I'll take a picture and I'll fly it through here where I'm pointing to.
Yeah, do that.
Showing little pictures of it, because it's too good.
Yeah,
it's too good.
Fly it through, please. Yeah.
So to imagine that this was happening in the early 70s with paperface.
In the early 70s, I had as a child, I had one of those electronic kits where you had all these wires and you fooled around, and one of the things was a speaker and an oscillator, right? And I'd squeak it and squeak it and squeak it, and it was endless fun. I just need to get that time machine to go back, and tell some grown up that was around me back then to keep encouraging me, because you're gonna love this if you stick with it.
You're gonna love it someday.
Yeah.
Well, my introduction to electronics was making Heath kits.
Well, wow. Okay.
Those are the same?
No, but that's from that era. Absolutely. Like I salivated over the Heathkit catalogs. Right.
Well, I mean, I was, God, I must have been like 12, let's say, 12 or 13, and I had a paper route, and there was this guy who, on my paper route, he was cleaning out his garage, and he had rented one of those big dumpsters, and, he's got it parked in his driveway, and he's just dumping all this shit in there. I'm riding my bike around doing my paper route, and I looked into this dumpster, and it was all these electronics and all this shit. And I knew what a soldering iron was because my mom was into that very 70s hobby of making stained glass artwork and soldering it.
Yeah.
Very 70s little hobby, right? So I knew what a soldering iron was. And I saw this shit in this dumpster, and I was like, what the fuck? And he came out and saw me, and he said, anything you want in there, you can take. And I was like, what is this stuff? And he's like, these are kits. And he had built some of them. He had built the oscilloscope. He had built the this. He had built the that. But some of them were unopened kits.
Wow.
Or half-built kits. And they had all the parts in little bags with them.
Yeah.
He was chucking them all. So I finished my paper route that day, went home, told my dad. We drove back up there, and we put all of this stuff in the back of the car. I took all of it. And down in our basement, this is in Michigan, down in our basement, my dad said you could have this room. There's this little, filled with paint cans and just a little trash room. And you can do your soldering down here if you want to learn how to do this stuff. And so I burned myself, started stuff on fire, read the terrible instructions, and I made a bunch of those little devices.
Yeah, awesome.
Sort of like now getting them off of Amazon, learning how to do it. Back then, I was doing little Heathkit experiments. Probably doing terrible solders, but they did work. I made a rock tumbler.
All right.
You know, those little things where you put old rocks in and then you put the toothpaste goo in and they turn into nice shiny rocks. You know, I made a rock tumbler. I made an ultrasonic cleaner, a little teeny vibrating tray where you could clean a piece of jewelry in it or something like that. You know, made all kinds of little devices like that, and then it just got put away. In my life, I got into bands. I was not doing that soldering stuff anymore. So now here it is, 40 some years later, and I still have this fire in me to hold solder and hold an iron.
Yeah. Well, right on. But
isn't that cool?
It's very cool. Yeah. And the little kids are all little scientists, and somehow
totally.
We turn into these shiftless teenagers for a few decades, and then we come back.
I know, a shiftless teenager. That's exactly what I am.
Yeah.
Oh man, what do we do? Are we gonna wind this interview up or this discussion?
I think, I'm so glad that we got to talk about these things we love. All right, and it won't be the last time. I love that you let me kind of connect our previous conversations a bit. We talk infrequently, but we've talked a number of times over the years about this stuff.
Yeah.
And neither one of us have ever come close to saying, I changed my mind. I was kidding.
That's right.
We're on this path, and it's so satisfying.
All right. I think that's a beautiful end. And right now we're going to watch your performance on this on these 4 panels. And my friends, this is Ed Sweeney who performs as Navicore.
All right. Thanks, Jono.
When we talk about synthesis, that is what we're talking about. Thank you, Ed, so much. Thank you so much for bringing your level of knowledge and professionalism to Modular World. Thank you so much. Quick note on the show, this is member supported. So if you would like to join up on Patreon, thank you very much. Next up is Metamyther, who comes from New York City. Now, as I've hinted, and you've probably seen on socials, you're going to see something right now that doesn't happen a lot on Modular World. So, without further yabber, here is Metamyther. Metamyther, how you doing?
I'm doing well, man. Thanks so much for having me on the show.
Oh, come on, it's great. And see, people should know this, you've been contributing to the Modular World website for a couple months now. You've got a YouTube channel where you show gear, you show patching techniques, you show off just great stuff. It's much more than just a gear channel, I think is fair to say. And
Yeah, I'm even trying to expand it more into like we had a interview with Matthewson from WMD. I'm trying to
right,
expand
right.
that kind of leg of it,
That's
Yeah,
so
I got some
great.
really cool content coming up. So yeah, I'm super psyched for it.
Hey, just as we're thinking about it, you told me something that I was so impressed with your answer. This is one of the first times we talked. I said, because we were talking about the ups and downs of running a YouTube channel and why and all this. And I asked you why you wanted to do this. And tell me your answer again.
Well, if I remember correctly, we were talking about how content can sometimes be like a dirty word.
Right,
Um, But I almost think of things that we put out, like I don't necessarily want to be known for my video, right? I want to be known for my music first and foremost, but
right.
sometimes songs take a long time to sort of gestate and create and, yeah, to just kind of they're harder to sort of negotiate with. So the video stuff kind of keeps me going when I'm not inspired necessarily musically, or if I just feel like I'm at an impasse, I can kind of switch gears and make a YouTube thumbnail or shoot a video or, just try things differently. Some of my videos have almost been like prompts for myself to kind of explore different ideas or comparing two modules together or a slew of modules like with the kick drum comparison. So it's been a way to sort of expand and explore my system in ways that I might not have normally done when I'm working on a track.
Yes, that was the answer. That was what you told me. I
Yeah.
love that so much because I think there's a lot of people who are like, maybe they don't want to admit it, but they're sort of like, I'm hoping to be the next big YouTuber. I'm hoping to make another GearTube channel that's going to get me a ton of YouTube revenue and a ton of stuff. And yeah, that's very noble. And also, I really like that you're doing it kind of for your own music.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, definitely. I
Yeah,
mean, there's so many ancillary benefits. Just like there are like when you play a live show, right? Like you do stuff differently that you wouldn't do at home in the studio. There's also the chaos of the live experience, right? There's that immediate connection with people, and some people might come up to you after the show and just be like, "Hey, we're organizing this other show. Do you want to play it?" Right? So, but you would never like kind of plan on that happening, but these things just kind of do happen you
yeah.
know so I think the video stuff is kind of like that as well. Like I've been going to some of these expos, gear expos, and people are coming up to me and they're like, did you do that video, like, oh, I really like that, so you're sort of creating these ripples in the pond without knowing how far they'll kind of ripple out.
Oh, yes. Amen. This guy's just
Yeah.
speaking the truth, man. Thank you for being so. See, I can't even say it. Thank you for being so clear in what you're saying. I have a hard time kind of stumbling through explanations sometimes. And God, you just really ripples in the pond. That's just such a perfect visual. I, you know, I've had to really question myself, why I do this show and what am I trying to do and who am I and all this. And I quite obviously don't want to be a YouTuber, or will not. I mean, maybe not quite obviously. To myself, it's quite obvious, and you can see that with, you know, you're probably not going to build a big channel if you're making like one video every month and a half or something like that. So
Right.
there's strike number one. But strike number two is that, and this isn't a strike for me, I could care less, but our numbers are not the type of numbers that are going to get a big channel going. You
Yeah,
know,
I think it's a little bit like slow and steady wins the race. I'm really trying not to be as much of a numbers person, because like you know when like Spotify does like their end of year wrap
right,
thing.
right.
Um, Actually, the number one time when I looked at it, I think it was last year, I looked at it, and actually the smallest number was the one that impressed me the most, which was the number of people that you're their number one artist. Like they listen to you like more than any other artist. And obviously,
Mm,
like that's going to be much smaller than the total number of plays that you get, right? Like which is going to be, in the thousands or tens of thousands or whatever. But the number of people that have you as their favorite artist, I mean, that's going to be a small number. That's like your true fans, And I mean,
yeah,
unfortunately, Spotify doesn't really provide you with any info to like find out who these people are because I'd love to reach out to them. But
right.
nonetheless, like that totally just blew me away.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm kind of like, I'm literally, to be someone's favorite artist, you're competing with literally everybody, right? So
Yeah.
you're sort of, it's these kind of connections that I'm sort of like after in a way.
Mm-hmm. You know, it would be great if there was a way to reach them. And as a little plug for Bandcamp,
Mm,
you can. All of your
right.
Bandcamp followers, you can send messages to. I think it's so powerful because these are the people who it's not a follow on social where it's like, you know, I have 3,000 followers on my Instagram social, but I know that probably, 38 of them are actually interested in what I'm doing,
Right.
and maybe 100 are aware of what I'm doing. But the other, how many, whatever, are just like they followed me one day for some random reason. Whereas, like, your followers on Bandcamp, these are people who really love your music. These are your actual fans.
Definitely. I mean, I've emailed every single person that's bought an album
Me
on
too. Me too.
Bandcamp, and I also ask like where they're based, just so I know like if I ever want to play a show there, like I'll definitely, or reach out to them again to come check it out live.
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
Yeah.
I mean,
That's
I think,
great.
it's the content game and the follower and subscriber thing, like that's a game that I've kind of willingly stepped into, like sort of knowing what the landscape is. And, I run a Discord of like local electronic musicians, and, recently we had a discussion about like Spotify revenue and streaming revenue, right? And, they were obviously incensed, right? Because it's, you're only getting pennies kind of thing. But to me, it's just kind of like, outside of sort of changing Daniel Ek's mind, which is probably not going to happen. It's sort of like you're barking up the wrong tree, and I think it doesn't make that much sense to sort of bemoan the streaming sort of landscape. Rather, I think it makes more sense to look at if making some money with your music or becoming sustainable with music is your goal, what are the other opportunities to do that? And, I've definitely identified maybe like three or four, YouTube sort of being one of them. Now, YouTube's revenue is sort of the same as Spotify's, but again, it's these ancillary benefits that I talked about before, where, now I have relationships with module makers where, at the bare minimum, I'm getting free product to review, which becomes mine in exchange for a video or two. So to me, that's, even the smallest module is at least $100, right? So that's obviously going to be way more than YouTube streaming revenue could probably be in several years for me. So
Right.
it's really about
Right.
like barking up the right tree for me.
Man, I couldn't agree more, really. I don't bemoan not making any money on Spotify. I'm stoked to have my stuff on Spotify because I can tell people to go there and listen to it. Where most people who I speak to friends at work, friends here and there. They don't know what the fuck Bandcamp is,
That's crazy.
you know? They don't. But everybody's got Spotify on their phone, and they're
Yeah.
so impressed that I'm on Spotify. And that's where it's at. Like my daughters think it's so cool that they could search me on Spotify and that I'm a verified artist.
Yeah.
Whereas they're not going to go to Bandcamp, bro.
Yeah. Well, the interface too on there
You
is
know?
not the best. Like if you're out and about, Spotify just provides a better user experience.
Yeah, it's a
Um,
really good platform.
yeah.
Not for paying people, but for everything else, they've figured it out. It works great.
Yeah, and in the absence of that, if you use a distributor, you can get it on YouTube as well or upload it yourself. So, I mean, everybody has YouTube too.
Right,
So
right.
that sort of increases the visibility even more, I think. Yeah.
This is a great conversation. I'm glad we got right to it. There's so much we could talk about in this stuff.
I mean, this
Um,
is, me, this is kind of how I am. Type A, let's go.
well, yeah. So now something that I talked about last time with Crew Called Self was, okay. So you're in New York City, same with Crew,
Yeah.
and you guys get so many. Just you get the momentum going. You get shows going. I mean, we do here too, but you guys, he explained it that like it's so. What was the word he used? There's just so many people in such a small area.
Right.
Whereas ours is like a huge, spanning, sprawling area, you know? Like I'm part of SoCal because I'm in San Diego, but I'm not part of LA's scene that much, you know? I am occasionally when I drive up there for one of their shows, but they have stuff all the time. But they're sprawling, so they have so many events over a huge area. Whereas you guys are more, what was the word he used? It's just more compact or something like
Compact,
that.
concentrated. Yeah.
Concentrated, you
I
know?
was talking with Jim today, actually, just on text. Yeah, he's a good friend of mine, and he's one of the organizers. He actually helped to organize our 6-year anniversary.
For
I
NIMS,
think, yeah, for NIMS, yeah.
right?
What I think one thing that makes NIMS really malleable and sort of adaptable is we have a bunch of people who are sort of at the administrative level, which I am as well. So I think there's like probably 8 or 10 of us,
Just really quick, tell the viewer who lives in a cave what NIMS is.
NIMS is New York Modular Society. So we are a collective that really just basically tries to provide a platform for exploring modular synthesizers. We have a really active Discord that just fires off messages every day. Yeah, it just provides a great resource for learning about stuff, buying and selling modules,
Mm-hmm.
chatting about synths, drum machines, all that kind of stuff. And one of our sort of outreach things is, we put on shows. We've done DIY workshops as well, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
We've hosted a couple of makers as well. Like we had Andrew from Steady State Fate come and do a little bit of a talk when he released the Metalloid, I believe it was. Like he was
Mm-hmm.
kind of talking about it. That was a really, really cool module, and I
He's
did
such
buy
a
one on
great
the
guy
spot.
too. Oh, see,
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
so
yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
See, we do the same thing here in San Diego. It's called Modular San Diego. Same thing as you described: shows, meetups, community, Discord. But since pandemic, or I guess pre-pandemic barely, but it was mostly pandemic, when you guys really, really wound up. You guys do it at such a level that it's just, you guys are really organized and plugged in. Ours is like, it kind of seeps, little drips and drops here and there. And when it's good, it's great.
Yeah.
Um, but you guys have really led the charge. You've been a great example to a lot of collectives.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. I mean, I joined NIMS probably in 2021, and I think it's been around since 2019, right? If we just
Right,
had our
exactly. Yeah,
right.
exactly.
So, yeah, I sort of missed a little bit of that pandemic wave where I understand that there was a lot of streaming and stuff like that, which is attendance wise was one of our better eras, I guess, or time periods. And then, yeah, there was sort of like that time when we came back to doing shows. That's when I sort of went to, my first NIMS show. And I'll never forget this guy, Tim, who uh, I consider a really close friend today. He was the first show that I saw, and he was throwing Nintendo cartridges, the 8-bit Nintendo cartridges into the audience. And that's like right there, I was like, okay, this is exactly where I want to be. Like I'm home, like just it was just such a madcap kind of performance, which is kind of his deal. I don't know if you know him, but
What's his
yeah,
artist name?
it's just his name, Tim Cox. He's been kind of like experimenting as well with a couple of other yeah monikers, but I think he just goes by his name now. Yeah.
We should have him on the show.
Yeah, he's great. He is super entertaining to watch. It's been really cool to see him over the last 4 years, like develop his artistic statement, Yeah, it's really cool. It's like really congealing into something really unique and fun.
Congealing, boy, isn't that a wonderful and yet gross word?
Um, it's being articulated if we don't want to use congealing.
Right.
Yeah.
Something's congealing. I'm just like,
It's like,
right. Something's congealing in my refrigerator right now.
yeah. I guess I've been watching like too many horror films as of late because we have the witching hour almost upon us. So
That's
been
right. That's
that
right.
mind frame.
That's right. Uh, okay. Let's talk about your music a little bit. You've prepared a performance that I don't want to talk about too much because I don't want to give it away. Because it's so good. Um, but tell us a little bit about, well, just speak to production value because, not everybody can do this or does do this on the show. I think just for availability of location, cost, time, interest, skill level. But the production value of your video is just completely ridiculous in a good way. And
Thank
then
you, man.
also, well, geez. I mean, we've had a few that are, going in this direction, and it's always fun. Um, and then also just to what you can talk to us about is um, just kind of the performance and what you tried to set up and achieve.
Yeah, I mean, I can talk about it all. My sort of entrance point for this performance, first of all, I knew that performing on Modular World would be somewhat of a rare occurrence. So I really just wanted to make it special, mostly for myself, but to show also viewers like what is possible, right? And sort of create this potentially aspirational thing that it doesn't necessarily have to just be one camera in the room where you own your modular, right? Obviously, that's totally cool, and I know that a lot of your performers do that, but I just kind of wanted to push the envelope for myself. So I did book a location, and I hired two shooters to help out with the shoot, and also a production assistant. There is like a smoke machine in it, so he's kind of one of the assistant is running the smoke machine, and we did have I think it was 6 cameras rolling at once. So there were like two GoPros. We had the camera that I used to shoot YouTube videos, and then the two videographers brought their 2 cameras as well. So we just had a lot of kind of angles going on, and
There's
because I
also
felt
a
like.
360 camera, right?
Yeah, and yeah, actually, and a 360 camera as well.
Yeah.
So from there, I knew it was going to be a little bit of a task to edit it all together, but I have like a post-production background, so I'm kind of jumping at this kind of thing. I hesitate to call it a music video, and it's more like, a performance video that is edited, but I kind of really leaned into um, showcasing the sort of artifice of editing itself, right? Because there's sort of some tools that I use that you're going to be like, okay, this is kind of more like it becomes kind of like psychedelic visual thing at some point. So I started realizing that even with six cameras, right, like you can actually get tired of all six cameras across like a 15, 20-minute performance. So I kind of wanted to sort of stretch the boundaries of, the film itself as a form, and sort of
Absolutely.
see like, what could be sort of done.
Sure, sure. Well, you do it. I mean, it's a riot. When you
Thank you.
sent it, I was like, this is so fun. I loved it.
My approach for the performance itself was I've recently been playing with a case that it's like a modular case, and then next to it is what I would call like a support case. The support case has just a keystep 37, a Zoom L6 mixer, so I'm able to record stems of every single instrument coming off the modular, and then there's the Oxy sequencer. I can I basically have it set up so that I can play real time a sequence and use the Oxy as like a live looper. So in the performance, I had three instruments going, and just by selecting the various sequencers and the MIDI channel on the key step, I can alternate between them and play whatever I wanted to there. So because of that, I have recently been doing just going into a set with only drums prepared. So I'm creating all the melodies more or less in real time. And then when I find a chord progression or a melody line that I like, I can hit record on the Oxy, capture that, and then that will continue looping. And then that allows me to dink around with the knobs, which we love to do.
Right.
In that way, it sort of gets me much closer to the material than just having a bunch of pre-made loops, which
Absolutely.
just seems to work better for me in the moment right now.
Yeah, yeah. That's a great way to use the Oxy too, because I've got that sequencer and I can't seem to crack it. And
Yeah.
the way that you're doing it's great because I'm not a pattern guy either,
Mm,
where I'm going to show up and DJ through a bunch of clever patterns I made.
mhm.
So that's a great yeah, that's a great use of it with the key step, playing something, finding something. So the Oxy then records the MIDI notes,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? You got to show me
And
how to do that.
yeah, it's really not that crazy. I'd love to maybe I'll do like a little tutorial, right? I'll just make it just for you and put it online and you know, a little love letter to you, a little tech love letter.
Ah, that would be so sweet. I would love that because I've watched all of the Oxy videos. I've watched every single one of them,
Right.
and it's cool. I'm glad I haven't let it go yet. Yet, he says. But
Do you find yourself selling a lot of gear or no?
not anymore. I've sold it all off.
Hmm.
So the first answer is yes. Um, but now what I've got is like the final stuff that I can't let go,
Hmm.
modules wise.
Yeah, yeah.
But there's a little, hardware here and there that I'm like, do I need the Oxy? I never use it. I'm not building patterns. Why did I get it? But then I use it a little bit and I'm like, this thing is so sweet.
Hmm.
It's so clever. But then I get back to I'm not saving patterns on it. What am I doing with it? I've got modules that are really like the SIG, the stochastic inspiration
Yeah,
generator.
yeah.
That's kind of my go-to for
Really? Okay.
just for jammability and just stochastic sequencing. And I know that there's a stochastic mode on the Oxy. I've used it. I think it's decent. But again, I can't really click with it.
For this performance too, I used the Proteus by Seaside Modular. So that's kind of like it's a generative melody thing too. And I use that as kind of adding the spice on top of like the more loop-based kind of stuff that I sort of made up.
Mm,
So
mm.
it's kind of, because I think too much in one or the other direction, it's either too random or it's too like sequenced, like kind of loopy. So I'm constantly trying to figure out like how to create like melodic variation. Like I've been looking at the new mimetic digitalis, the digitalis, that you can like shred individual steps and have that CVable. So you can kind of create these slowly evolving sequences, which is kind of like my
Yeah.
jam, you
I
know?
had the first one and I
Yeah.
loved it. And
Yeah.
it was one of those modules that maybe it falls into the I regret selling it category, but I didn't use it that much. And when I used it, I loved it. But, it's only 16 steps
Yeah.
and you can't change that. But then watch POB doing performances with
I
that
know.
with
I
that
know.
original. It's
He's
just
like
like
mad with it. Yeah.
he's mad with it.
Yeah. The new one is like it's it's almost like not even a sequel. It's just like its own thing because it
Yeah,
can do so much more, you know. I mean, I know you probably don't want displays or screens on your gear, but I welcome that. I relish that. I love having, a useful display or screen on
me too.
something that
Me too.
shows me. Yeah. Okay.
No,
I
I'm
wasn't
I'm
sure if
not
you were
I'm
one of
not
those people.
anti-display.
Okay,
No,
got
no, no. I
it. Yeah.
mean, I think about samplers and I think about my Disting EX.
Yeah.
I've got the big screens for that thing. I can't work with its tiny little screen. Anyway, no, screens are great.
Yeah. Yeah.
If they're great. I think about the Zadar too, just so good.
Yeah, I think I have three Zadars right now, or maybe even four. I have to count them. But like, yeah, I'm using them all the time. It's like, and
That
it's so,
module is so good.
yeah. It's great for teaching too, because people can immediately see like, oh, okay, that's what's going on, you
That's
know?
right.
Yeah.
No, Zadar is really important. I would never let that go. Ornament and Crime, decent screen. Um, Pamela's Pro Workout, decent screen.
Yeah.
Braids, good screen. I'm looking at my screens right now. Bitbox Micro, great screen. All right. Anyway, enough on screens. Can we touch on the POB project?
Yeah, I would love to.
Go ahead.
Patrick and I started talking, and we thought it would be a really fun project to put together a split EP, which, for those who don't know, it's like I'm going to do three tracks, and he'll do three tracks, and then we'll kind of release it as one album. Um, I've been kind of toying around with the idea also of each of us remixing one of those three tracks.
Yeah, what a sweet idea.
It's cool, right? Like just for fun. I mean, like I've respected his music for forever, and I mean, I've seen him live multiple times, and it's just mind-blowing every time. Like,
Absolutely.
I have nothing but the deepest, respect for him, and that's kind of what I wanted to explore. Like, what would it look like for us to do an album together and basically put it out, and it hopefully it will prop each of us up, as opposed to like doing a three-track EP on our own, So
Right, right.
that's kind of my idea. And I mean, I think our musical styles are in the same vein, certainly. So yeah, he sent me a bunch of potentials of stuff that he's working on. I don't know how much he wants me to talk about it, but yeah, no, there's great stuff there. I'm really looking forward to it.
It's so exciting. For those who don't know, we're talking about Patrick O'Brien, POB, who was one of our best friend brothers in the LA scene. Not was, but I mean, obviously is, but I mean, he was one of the main LA mainstays, one of the early modular on the spot people with Rodent here, and has just become a great friend of mine. And then he moved to DC, broke all of our hearts, to be with his wife. I get it, I understand. Anyway, so now you guys get all of the wonderful event making, moving and shaking, which he does. He runs modular on the mall in DC, which I played at.
Nice.
Amazing. So yeah, Patrick's a real mover and shaker. I'm so glad that you guys get to enjoy him and to be part of what he's always thinking and moving.
Yeah, I mean, in a way, we had already been collaborating because I did a couple of videos for noise engineering. And, that's been, it doesn't even feel like work to me. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just making these videos because I love these products. And, I want
Hmm.
to, like with the Toros video, like, there wasn't really a really great video manual, if you will, to like talk about that. So that was like I kind of did that one like right when it came out, and I just think that that's hopefully been super useful for people.
Right, I forgot to mention Patrick does all of the videos for noise engineering.
Yeah.
Small detail.
Yeah, and I mean I love those sounds, so it's like it's just, it's just easy. Yeah.
No, their modules are fantastic. We've talked about them and plugged them for years. I've always
Yeah.
been a fan of their utilities, almost more than their voices. But Loquelic Iteritas is my. If I sell that, it'll be the day that I'm getting out of Eurorack.
Yeah.
That is the most valuable oscillator.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah,
Loquelic.
I've been using a fair amount of them. Like I've just been falling in love with Debel recently, which makes amazing snares. Snares have been this kind of like white whale for me, and like this unending quest, to find the perfect snares. And it's, somebody on our Discord once asked like, what kind of snares do you like? And I was like, it's a kind of a fair question, so I've just been kind of like searching for them, like, and so I found ones that I really like in Debel, and the Vic X also. I made a whole video on making snares with that, and that makes awesome snares too.
Your YouTube channel is so good, and I really encourage everybody watching to check it out. It's unique. And Metamyther's approach is just so. Anyway, that's linked below. And yeah, please take the time to check that out. Check out his dirty word. Check out his content. God damn that word.
Congealing content.
The congealing content in my refrigerator. Okay,
Yeah.
enough of this.
All the way in the back, growing mold.
Right, right. What is this content? All right.
Yeah.
Metamyther, thank you so much for coming on and doing this. And I just can't wait for people to see this performance. So we're just going to get to it right now.
Yeah. Thanks so much for having me. And yeah, I hope you all enjoy the performance. Thanks for watching.
Thanks, man. So sweet. Thank you, Metamyther, so much for bringing the production quality of this show up to another level. Thank you. And thank you to Ed for your level of synthesis and level of knowledge. This has been a very, very good show. Great conversations, great music, great visuals. This is basically as good as it gets on this show. And to you, thank you so much for watching and being part of this community. If you'd like to support Modular World, it is member supported. Please follow the links below to Patreon, and follow the links below to the artists and their projects, their socials. It's all there. Thank you so much. For Modular World, I'm John O. Wells.